I am going to be a bright light in a very dark hole. Many of you have heard me complain, kvetch, and otherwise grouse about some miserable management behaviors and so forth. An example, some poor leadership at my work. Well, here I am. 3 weeks ago, I was promoted to temporary supervisor. Kicked into that dark hole, and now they're going to give me a try. See if I play well with others, see if I can offer some good ideas. Okay, I'll do that. That's fine. I know I'm going to do that. I have the experience to do that. My goal is to exemplify the behaviors on the flip side of my complaining. What I really want them to be doing. If I can do that, if I can be that bright light, maybe I'm going to be part of something valuable. Tonight I'm going to give you a slide presentation, but I'm going to start out with some pictures. The main thrust of what I'm going to try to do is reframe the picture in several of our minds of the standard strong leader model. The, as Phil mentioned, top-down directorship or command control model in favor of another more integral, more collaborative model of a leader. But first, before the slides, I have some pictures to start us out, because I promise when we get to the slides, you will miss the pictures, because there are so many words, and I'll be flipping back and forth between them. It'll be crazy. So we'll start with pictures, or it'll be boring, one of those. Here's an example of a leadership model. Coach offering some kind words to his player. I would really like you to achieve greatness and be part of the team. Is there a place for this? You bet there's a place for this. When a person is really tired, is really exhausted, and is being called upon to drive further, and they don't think that they can anymore, to be sharper, hey, you bet. Here's another strong model, right? Our man, John Wayne, yeah? Don't talk back to this man. He's going to tell you what you're going to do. And you're going to go take out the engines who are up in the draw there. Here's another one. General George Patton. Notable, not most necessarily, but certainly notable for his achievements in World War II in North Africa. And I'll say this. Oh, in order. Here we go. I'll say this. If I'm this guy, and this is a picture from North Africa from World War II. Sorry, I jiggled a little bit with my hands. But if I'm this guy, I want that man telling me, boy, you take that hill. Okay? Or you get down off that hill, whatever the direction I'm going. I want his leadership. All right? Another example. When are these strong leaders really valuable? In this case, you have a terrible accident here. You have bystanders wandering around like zombies. I've had several occasions like this myself where I've been a first responder or something like that, not formal first responder, but first on scene. And it is amazing what it takes to get somebody out of the shock mode and to actually help out. You need a strong leader in those exigent emergency situations. But how about this guy? I would really like you to do your homework. Shall we talk about it? This is not what he's saying. And what's her position on this? Is she open to working out a good success plan with him? I think not. So there are applications. This is what he's going to get. Oh no, you can't make me do it. Right? So there are different applications. Now, different applications for different leadership models. And I'm here to tell you tonight that the emergencies are rare. in our daily lives, we're going to achieve our greatness by bringing a team together. And I'm not talking about all these words on a page. Oh, well, look at this. Lead by example and inspire and coach. Actually, I am going to say all of these words, but they're not going to be in this silly matrix that has, I stared at this for a while, and it has no interrelated value to it. So, I'll put these words in order for you, and hopefully it'll make sense. But I do want to refer to a quote more in line with where we're going tonight by Steve Jobs. Great things in business, I'm reading backwards now, are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people. What I like about this is, yeah, team, and also it's people. So we must always remember that we're dealing with people. If we're pulling somebody out of a car and they're bleeding all over the place, all right, we're dealing with somebody that we're trying to keep from being a corpse. Okay, that's one thing. All the rest of the time, we're dealing with people. And this is more of the model that I want to place in all of our minds. In this group, who's the leader? I had trouble discerning that. I still have trouble discerning it. And as long as there is somebody who's kind of guiding things, this is a great picture. Because that means that everyone in this picture feels like their voice can be heard, and that they're contributing, and that they are, as Phil mentioned earlier, buying in on the vision of it. Now, my friends, the slides. Incidentally, this was my map of the logic of these slides, and strap in. It's going to be a ride. There are observed universal principles among great leaders. One of them is that they provide clear direction. And this is something, I have a little guide for myself with a list of these things. This is where we're talking about mission statement, vision statements, as Phil described, value statements, goals statements, and plans, whether they're formal statements or whether they're, let me explain to you what I want you to do for this week's work. It's clear statements of what's expected of people. All right, well, that's simple enough. They also foster collaboration. And here I think is one of the keys. They build teams, they delegate to their teams. In their teams, they use the clear direction, right, in their delegation. They coach them along. Hey, coaching, that's what we're doing. And we're going to go deeply into this. But one of the notes is that they, and it's very key, they have a service leadership attitude. They're not here to self-aggrandize. They're not here to make themselves look good, to make somebody else look bad. They're here to serve their team. And they motivate achievement. They give great feedback, positive feedback, valuable feedback, mostly effective feedback. They give support, they give recognition, and they resolve conflicts. Here's where we get to the shifting. We're going to come back to this one. But I think this one flows more reasonably. What is a coach supposed to do? Well, here are some things. They set high goals or expectations, still achievable. They guide the members toward them, that's fine. They offer support. They don't say, now you're going to do it my way. John Wayne could do that. But then again, he's fighting off Indians. And they give advice. They also provide feedback. And this is very important, and we're going to come back to that later. So these are the core responsibilities of a leader. They also encourage their team members. They keep them motivated and marching forward. So, now, we'll go back a slide here to what's called the fundamentals of coaching. Really, this, I would couch it as communicate, communicate, communicate. We know generally what a coach has as his or her responsibilities. Now we're going to get down into how they're going to do it. So many things are about communicating well. So this is about clear communication. We convey what's expected, why a person is doing it. This is key. If a person, especially somebody who is well educated or just plain ornery, if we cannot catch that vision, we're not going to play that game. Throw the ball to third base. Why? Okay? If we can see the vision, we can be part of the solution for it. How they're supposed to do it, how well they're expected to do it. This slide's also missing a couple things. When things are to be done, and also what resources they have available to them. And also a little bit of feedback, how well they're doing. So that's the communication basics, fundamentals of coaching, they'll call that. Okay, fine. Now, once the communication has been done, how are things going? If they're going great, fantastic. I'm a cheerleader. And that's pretty much it, except for I fill out timesheets. Or I check timesheets and turn them in and approve them. What if they're not going well? Well, okay. Now we get down to where the rubber meets the road, really. They say that a ship does great when it's in harbor, but that's not what it's built for. So coaching isn't meant for when everything's going great, right? Now we're going to get down into it. So if we have a meeting with a person on our team who's not delivering the goods for some reason, we got to not wait, but let's go ahead and have a chat with them. So we compare how they've performed with what their expectations are, and then we meet with them. Okay, well that's easy enough. We describe the problem. This is reading between the lines. We describe the problem, and we will come back to some details of this, tips slide. And what's really important is for them to acknowledge, hey, there is a problem. It's not saying, hey, I did this. I did it because I want the whole team to go down in flames. No. Is there a problem? Okay. Are we or are we not making expectations? But getting them to acknowledge it is key. We can be on the same side in finding the solution, but we can't if there is no problem. After that, we can work together to find a solution. And then, after we come up with an action plan and we send them on the way with expectations of check-in time and so forth, then we'll follow up and see how things are doing. So, now, if things are going well, great. And if not, we use these coaching tools for having a meeting. Now here, we're going to get down into a little greater depth and describe some tips for making those discussions really meaningful and really effective. Key, talk with them, not down to them. I have an example, I have a few examples. One example is of, thin air, a manager I work with, who notably, in several occasions, would say, I'm the boss. You do what I say. Two people who had more experience than she had. So what did she get out of that? The ending of good suggestions. Not so good, really. So, talk with people. Admit it when you have made a mistake. You're here as part of the team. You're here to support the team. You're not here to be the man or the woman. Simple. Here you go. Listen. This is a very important one. We hear this all of the time. In communicating what some people and books will call crucial conversations, it's very, very important to hear the other person's side. Do they know that something was expected of them? Well, if they don't, well, that's easy. Let me explain to you, or explain again. Do they have the tools that they need? Do they know what the time frame is? Any one of these little bits of information that's missing means that they're not trying to get in your face and scuttle the team, but rather that they misunderstand. But you need to use these to get that understanding. Also keep it short and specific. So, key here, again, be sincere, and that ties back to remember that you're dealing with people all the time. You don't need to put on a role. You don't need to be any caricature. You need to be a human dealing with another human on a problem. So, in doing this, I want to step off to the side. Actually, I'm giving you too much action. I'm going to step off to this side and describe what's the effect of doing this. Besides all of the effectiveness, making the teams achieve greatness, or so forth. To my mind, what you do in sitting down with a person face to face, and you hold their hand and you coach them through, and you say, here are some resources, here's where I've had some troubles with this before. You show them that they can overcome difficulty, they can overcome awkwardness, they can overcome partial failures. Well, that's a pretty solid message, actually. You show them a little bit of what more they can be, and that they are growing creatures. They're not locked in this shell, this husk that cannot be broken, but there is a future that is waiting, and it is a positive future, and it is a supportive future for the whole team. That's really valuable. Okay, now I'm back onto the slides. So, be timely. Don't wait a long time. I keep pointing here. Don't wait a long time to get down and make your mid-course corrections, because the longer you wait, the more confused the messages can be. So, besides making your teams more effective, some of the other benefits that you get are you raise your morale of the team, you empower your people to, they know that they have a voice, and they know the license that they have to achieve their own greatness as part of the team, and they develop into better people. So, and after this, there's just a slide that says, ooh, coach by example. Okay, that's fine, that's good. But I prefer my conclusion. And that is premised on that the quality of leaders and lecterns is measured by the accomplishments of their team, or their companies, or their states, or their countries. So it's how they inform, direct, and inspire their people that really makes the difference. So I'm trying to be a bright light. I'm trying to change the culture in my office by giving clear directions, by giving them a voice, by hearing it, by offering advice, by removing obstacles, by cheerleading, and by giving feedback. I'd like you to take the opportunity when it comes to do the same. See what you can do in coaching as your leadership model, and see what changes can come about. I want you to reframe the model of a leader for other people. And by their performance, you'll also be a bright light. And you'll show the bright light that I know you are. Mr. Toastmaster.